The encore. My story begins on June 9th. This was a day my wife, 2 kids and I, ages 2 and 5, were supposed to leave to take a family trip to the mountains along with my parents and sister's family. All good, right? I talked to her at lunch and discussed logistics of when we are leaving, packing, etc. She sends me a picture of them celebrating her sales leader for the month at work, all that jazz. I get home, go to the master bedroom, and our bags are sitting there packed. I can immediately sense something is wrong from my wife's demeanor. Cue the stomach-wrenching feeling. I definitely can't recall what was exactly said that day as it's a blur by now, but she basically said she couldn't go on the trip. She didn't want to pretend in front of my family. She was tired of trying. It shouldn't be this hard, etc. I know it's cliché, but I was pretty flabbergasted. I, like most people, thought we had a decent marriage. I'm not going to sit here and say it was great as we had our struggles. But there was definitely no incident in the previous couple of weeks like any sort of argument that would have triggered this. She just sounds emotionally drained. Now that I read about WW, the traits are similar. I don't do anything like beg, ask her about the kids, etc. I really am just mostly shocked, and if I recall, I pretty much hear her out on a few things and leave the room to be with the kids and try my best to keep it together. She takes a nap, then wakes up at 9 p.m. to head to her sister's house. Now, a little background. Rewind to 3 nights before. I give her ex and we have great time. This was preceded by us reading a big we got from our marriage retreat together and going over the physical chapter. She was turned on by it. Next night she has a bit of a breakdown and says she is losing her faith. She joined Christianity prior to us getting married 7 years ago, and our lack of a spiritual connection has always been something she's brought up. Over the years we've tried reading books together. I've always supported her journey, have attended church with her on a semi-regular basis, but am not quite where she is on the belief scale. She mentions the only thing keeping her trying in the marriage was her faith, and without her faith she doesn't know if she can do it. Red flag anyone. Boy, I should have saw this coming right then and there. I console her and offer to pray with her. We finish the night sleeping together. That sounds crass, but I just want to give an idea of our relationship directly leading up to D-Day. Now, that marriage book I mentioned. It's Christian-based, and it talked heavily about the dirty role plays in a marriage and what's expected of wife and husband. My wife has had a rough childhood, to say the least. Her mom had her at 14 and had 5 kids by the age of 23. Lots of men came in and out. Terrible things were done to my wife, and she's had screwed-up boyfriends. Her dad treated her like crap. The whole 9 yards. She and I have been to counseling to discuss her past and how to best navigate those waters in our relationship. I think the book may have been a part of the trigger that set her off. Now, back to D-Day. Some of the other things she said, and has said before in counseling, is that she would be totally good with never sleeping together again. She sometimes feels not needy. She's tired of feeling the pressure to sleeping together, and that it wasn't me, but just being in a marriage brought her constant anxiety about it. I could go on, but I think you get the gist of it. It is hard to explain if you haven't been with a victim of ex abuse. Well, she sleeps at her sister's for a few nights and I really don't contact her much. Intuition told me just to leave her alone as much as possible if I wanted any chance at salvaging this. She ends up getting an Arab a few days later and informs me she is living there for the remainder of June. Now, I am sure I screwed up here, as I probably should have just said no, but I don't think I had much ground to stand on as we have joint accounts and she brings in an income. So, I considered the cost of Arab coming out of her income. Anyway, fast forward a little bit and I'm a week into the guilt trip. Playing back everything in my head. What did I do wrong? What can I do go forward? You all know it. The kind of reflection that drives you crazy. Well, maybe a week or week and a half later, she comes over to spend time with the kids. I have been keeping them all this time, and I notice her ring is off. So, as an emotional mess, I can't keep it in and ask her what's up with that. She basically says that she doesn't know what she wants and she needs to work on herself. I don't remember her exact words. Again, here is where I should have just said, alright, we are done now. We then go into the room and talk more. Again, I shouldn't have done this, but I was desperately seeking clarity. I still at this point never once asked her to come back, or say things like what about the kids, me, etc. so I can at least cling to that. But I do go into my spiel about how being alone gives so much time to reflect on things and look at the relationship from an outsider's perspective. How I probably didn't love her the way she wanted to be loved, me thinking that providing everything for the family was good enough. Possibly didn't help out enough with the kids, all that jazz, basically a little bit of honesty and truth, but quite possibly coming off as a sap. I just thought honesty at that point was the way to go, but I now know that just looks like it was all my fault for my wife getting to this point, which I know is not the truth. But I didn't. I was already doing a few things but made sure to add some more to my arsenal. A few days go by and we don't talk much. She comes over to see the kids and she comes to talk in the room and talks about how thanks for everything you said the other night. It's not all true. You did everything you needed, etc. basically telling me not to beat myself up over it. But, she says, there's always a but. When I think about us and you in the future, I envision you with the kids and someone that loves you, and I don't feel anything. No jealousy, anger, etc. Code red anyone. At this point I should have just saw the writing on the wall, but I was dumb and stubborn, and just asked her one last thing, if she could consider going on a retreat for ex-victims. I had it in my head that she is dipping back into a worse mental state and that her past was to blame. This still may be partially the case, that is up for debate. Also, at some point during the talk that night she says she's just tired of having to answer to anyone, doesn't want to feel obligated to sleep together, wants to be able to do what she wants with her money. We had argued about how much she should donate to charity recently. Lots of different things, all pointing back to basically wanting to not be tied down to anyone or have any sort of marital, family obligation. She talks about how she's jealous of my cousin who has his kids 7 and 7, the week off. She ultimately agrees to go on the retreat and asks if we could wait until she returns before she makes a decision about us. It's so early on in the process I basically say okay. I mean, at that point what else am I going to do? There's about a 3-week period before the retreat ends, so not much happens. I am still living with the kids, trying hard to focus on them, taking them on outings, keeping them occupied outside, etc. We don't talk much outside of about the kids. At one point we text a bit and I basically just tell her I am good with whatever the outcome of this retreat is, and to not go into it with expectations. She is very thankful and tells me she hopes it changes the way she feels about us, because that's what she wants. Fast forward to end of the retreat, she texted me several messages and pictures, had a 30-minute convo about one of her sessions. The kids and I pick her up at the airport and she seems in good spirits. She recommends we take the kids to lunch, so we do that. We get home, put the kids down for a nap, and she hands me a card she wrote the day before with an excerpt from the note being, I have also gained what I wanted here, peace and clarity. Whatever I do in love is the right decision for me. I love you. I hope you can see me. So, at this point I really just want clarity on the situation, so we go talk in the room and she basically say her feelings have not changed. The counselors there asked her what her idea of happiness was in 6 months, and she says, to see my husband with someone that loves him unconditionally and to be co-parenting. Says she wants to be able to eat what she wants, do what she wants. What? I never once told her she couldn't do these things. I was also the one who recommended she get out of the house and taking care of the kids and pursue a real estate career, which she did and has been great at it this year. But I knew not to try and argue and question that reasoning with logic. I basically just told her I never did any of that, and she stated it wasn't me. Just being in a marriage made her feel that way, and that she didn't think she was cut out for the traditional marriage lifestyle. Felt invisible, etc. Just a mom and wife. Anyway, at that point I get the message loud and clear. Now here's where it gets fun. Later that day I log into my cell phone plan to add some data. Both of our lines are on the plan, and I see the data usage link. I figure why not, let me check. I keep seeing a number pop up, with some extremely long call times, 2 to 5 hours. Yes, 300 minutes for one call. These calls go back several weeks, including while on her retreat. Ultimately I go back and see the first time his number shows up as 2 days before D-Day. Now, some may call me naive, and sure I am, but just for full disclosure and honesty, I never once considered the possibility of another man in the picture. Again, this will probably come off as extremely naive, as I'm sure most guys feel this way until it happens to them, but she held herself with high integrity, Christian values, and absolutely despised cheaters. You guys are all probably laughing at me now, as you probably saw it coming from a mile away while reading all of that text, but what can I say? If I thought my spouse had that bone in her body, I would not have married her. But I'm just being real here. Opening myself up and being truthful. I do some digging, and the guy is a person she works with at the brokerage. I do more digging, and his social media presence is very slim, which is odd considering he's a reagent and 32 yo. I also find he has a long-term GF that works in the same hometown I'm from. I have no idea if it's physical yet. It probably is if I'm being honest, but I have no proof. All I know is it would be hard to be physical at night, as they are on the phone for hours just about every night, and she knows I know where she is, so if I ever got a wild hair I could easily check in. Definitely possibly some daytime stuff going on. So, that's where we are. I am here a week later. I haven't told her anything. I haven't told the GF anything. Just my parents know. My dad's initial hunch at the very beginning was another man. I said it was the bottom of my list of concerns. Dad knows best. I did slip up and tell her mom I know this past Saturday. I know how horrendously stupid that was. Like, seriously stupid. Her mom and I had been talking because my wife had cut her and all her aunts off from communication, so her mom would call me to check on the kids. I just held it in for a week and had to get it off my chest, and she was within reach. She promised she wouldn't say anything. We'll see. I've basically kept it status quo with the wife for the past week. Minimal talking. She offered to take the kids this past weekend. It was so last minute I had no time to get any kind of decent VAR. I bought one from Best Buy, but it was garbage and I didn't have a great place to conceal it. So, I set up my laptop in the room to use the mic to listen to her call. However, that was a failure because there is a time limit on the Windows voice recorder app. Also, when I returned Sunday my laptop was closed. She never mentioned it, so I wonder if she was tipped off. That was so clumsy of me. It was just a last-ditch rush job to catch something on tape. So, where do we go from here? When do I approach her about the long phone calls? Do I keep it on the down low until I can gain more info? She has told me several times she doesn't want anything. I discussed selling the house and splitting the equity. I don't want to take anything from you. This is all my fault, of course. That can change on the drop of a dime, so I'm thinking I need to get some more solid evidence of promiscuity before tipping her off that I know, or before her mom says anything. When do I tell the other GF? I have a consultation with my lawyer tomorrow. She is supposed to be a great advocate for father's rights. Anxious to see how it goes and what she's going to recommend. My thoughts for not confronting the wife about it now is I just want to keep her in her current good spirits if I don't want anything rather than rocking the boat confronting her about this thoughts. Candid honesty is welcome. But really, just thanks for reading all this mess. It's cathartic to write it all out and get it off my chest. Also, any GPS tracking devices, via RS you folks recommend. I really hate that I was too in a daze and filled with false hope earlier to not buy those sooner. She took the kids to her house the second night of the weekend, so I'm thinking that combined with the laptop lid being closed, she might be onto me trying to listen in on something. Little does she know I still have access to phone records. Honestly though, she called yesterday as it sounds. She was having a breakdown after being screwed out by her mother. I listened to her for about 10 minutes. After I got off the phone, I just sat there thinking, what are you doing? Get your crap together. Called the lawyer this morning and set up my appointment for 1:30 tomorrow. I'm just saying it's not easy when kids are involved, man. Get the message? I should have immediately shut it down and called lawyer, but the family unit clouds judgment for sure. That, and my sympathy for her mental issues. But I get it. I'm past that. Ready to get this process rolling and be the best dad I can be for my kids, because they need a strong, stable figure right now. Just for full transparency, she hasn't completely abandoned the kids. She has picked them up from daycare some days and spent the afternoons with them, until she leaves at night to go back to her place. She calls to tell them good night, etc. Although they have only slept with her 2 nights of the last 33. The rest were at my house with me. Just wanted to get that out there. It's not a situation of full-blown abandonment. So, I met with the lawyer today, and honestly, I'm walking away more confused than ever. Louisiana is a backwards-ass state, obviously, as we are the only state in the union that follows civil law and not common law. Basically, my lawyer's advice to me was to carry on as much as I can and wait out the 365-day period we have to be separated. The earlier I serve papers, the earlier I have to pay spousal support. It was a ton of information and my head is spinning at this point. I told her my wife seems to want to have an easy split up and not take anything. However, even if we get that in writing, statute of limitations is 3 years and she can dissolve anything in writing and come back for her half. This is screwed. Lawyer said that it is extremely tough to prove in Louisiana court. I mean, basically you need to have a camera in the room. Her written confession may not even be enough. We would have to get the other guy on the stand too. Lawyer basically said I should avoid litigation at all costs and should work for settlement, which my wife seems to be on board with for now. It just doesn't really pay to file now or 330 days from now. If I file now, I will probably owe spousal support until the divorce is served. So, crappy. Why the heck can't I just end this marriage given the circumstances? I have to deal with this for the next 330 days. I just want it to be over. Side note, I screwed up again. Lawyer wouldn't take American Express and my only card was debit card linked to joint bank account. What do you know? Wife sees the lawyer charge on statement today and calls to ask if I'm trying to get full custody. I told her I was just meeting with a lawyer to get legal advice. She was alarmed that this particular lawyer, according to her website, focused on father's rights. I told her I would still like to settle and she wants to meet tomorrow to discuss how to split things. The tide is already too slowly shift from I don't want to take anything from you to when I asked her about child support she said, what do you feel comfortable giving? I can see where this is headed. She is worried about how she's going to support herself and wants money to do things with the kids when she has them. She continued to stress she doesn't want to get lawyers involved, so I think I will just walk on eggshells, not rock the boat too much, and give her a bit to keep her from lawyering up and coming after half of everything. I'm not sure what else my play should be at this point. We are getting lunch tomorrow. I will make sure to record everything on my phone. I also told her I want the whole truth. I told her I'm not stupid. She said she wanted to talk about it in person. I think by this point she knows that I know, probably from the mom. So, yay, I get to hear about this other guy straight from the horse's mouth tomorrow. It has been rough tonight, especially after that call. I can't stop crying. It hurts so much. I should hate her guts. I somehow keep feeling guilty. I keep thinking, well damn, I could have just done this, done that. Why wasn't I more romantic? I've just been exhausted. I know I played a role in this, just not anywhere as big as I'm feeling. Just when I think I'm beginning to move past, something just sets me back. It's just the swiftness and speed at which this happening and how it doesn't seem to affect her at all. I know she's been preparing for this and has a guy, so it makes it easier, but it's just a huge slap in the face and a shot to my self-confidence. I wasn't some bum. I got a promotion earlier in the year making $150, got my MBA and got state licensure. I'm not a bad-looking guy. How can this person I thought I knew just move on from a marriage and family so easily? For a guy who just started in real estate. It's not even like she's moving up, which makes it worse. Looks-wise, probably, but that won't sustain it. I know it wasn't perfect, we did things to attempt to correct it, but I never once abused her in any way, did lots to make her happy. I'm just sitting here like I'm in a nightmare I can't wake out of. Every time I see my kids I just want to start crying. They don't deserve this. They didn't sign up for being tossed around houses every week. They deserve their mom and dad. Why do I want her back? Why do I keep envisioning a history of us having a great relationship when it probably wasn't that great? It's just the ultimate game of wanting what you can't have. It's brutal. She's also saying she doesn't want to be told when she can see her kids. Her signing off on full custody is deaf off the table. She keeps saying she doesn't know what she wants custody-wise and settlement because she doesn't know her living situation, location-wise and financially. She's new real estate agent so no stable income. Really, I see her regretting what she signs off of and just comes back for more money later in the 3-year period. We shall see. Should we just talking about divvying up the assets and not even give her a chance to talk about the affair? Just tell her I'm over it and don't care. Only plus is I can get it on audio if needed later. I'm sort of leaning towards just showing no interest in it and not needing an explanation. I messed up so hard by telling her mom I know. That was my one ace up the sleeve and I totally let it out of the bag. Met her at her place this afternoon to discuss logistics of the kids the next few weeks. We talked over the plans over the next month or so. She will be taking the kids a couple nights a week. Before I left she said she had a list of things she wanted to say. The usual. I waited for her to finish and said I can't believe anything you say because you lied this whole time about the guy. So, I got her to admit to seeing him. She didn't outright say they slept together, so bad news for the VAR. She said she didn't want to tell me because she didn't want to think that was the only reason for splitting up and no other stuff in the 10 years we've been together. Lol. So, I just tell her if there were any marriage-threatening issues the answer was communicating those to me and not sleeping with another guy. She mainly held her head down crying most of the time. I couldn't get her to tell me how long it's gone on. But then told her don't worry about it because I won't believe anything you say. Earliest phone record I found is 4 weeks ago, when she left, but could have easily been physical before the first phone call. I asked about whether the guy's girlfriend knows. She said yeah and that she ended it. I've reached out to her to confirm. That was that and I left, right after she asked if I was going to tell the kids. No, I'm not going to tell my 5-year-old their mom left a great life for one off with some reagent. They'll be grown adults before they hear the truth. She'll have to live with it the rest of her life. Big weight is off my chest. Will obviously still take a while, but this is a step in the right direction. Having to think about my wife with another dude is a sickening feeling, but what are you going to do? Time heals all. I spoke to the other guy's GF today. They've been in a relationship 7 years. She basically caught them the first time we think he went see her 4 weeks ago, around after D-Day. She says she can't find anything from before then, so it's looking likely that she left me and met up with him a couple days later. I can't tell if the girl is in denial or not, but he's still living with her. She basically said she cut him out of her life, but he's still there. I didn't get into details of their living arrangement, but he was basically just telling her that she was in a bad spot, so he was talking to her, lol. So, I told her there are dozens of hours of phone records I have, that although I don't have her admitting to affair on the VAR, she admitted to it lasting the last 4 weeks. And judging from how emotional her response was, I know there is something physical involved. Anyway, here's the kicker. The girl tells me that she's the breadwinner and that the guy hasn't ever really held a job. He just started in real estate but isn't making any money. How's that for a kick in the gut? That's even worse for my self-confidence. I know I shouldn't be thinking this, but all I'm thinking now is, were my flaws that bad? To drive my wife to leave the family for a dude with absolutely nothing going for him? Was I that oblivious to the issues? Also, no surprise, but she wants CS now. She spoke to a lawyer today and all of a sudden, she wants the kids half the time. She couldn't focus on the kids while worrying about how to make money. It's either give her some money or she can just file papers and the courts will force me to pay. She wants to avoid litigation. I'm going to get a second opinion from a lawyer Monday and see if pushing the unfit mother angle is worth the time and money. My reservation is that unless basically immediately once papers are served, I'm required to start paying CS and alimony. Right now, she doesn't want alimony, just help with CS. She is good with not filing any papers and me just sending her some money every month. Exposing her will almost positively piss her off, and the consequences would very likely be her filing and also requesting alimony. So, while I would love to show everyone the truth, including her employer since they work together, it seems it would be an unwise financial move. I will verify with second lawyer opinion Monday, but it seems it's in my best interest just to suck it up and bear it, at least until the 365 days have passed and we file. Then, you can't get back pay in CS and alimony. This 30-day period has kicked off extreme weight loss due to not eating, so I'm down 10 pounds and at my lowest weight in the last decade probably. It's good though, got rid of some fat, now I have something to build off of. We'll start working out and getting ready to hit the market once this 365 days are up. I think I now just need to get out of this house. I think this process would be easier if I didn't have constant reminders of her, our old family activities at every turn. It's been the hardest part, just playing board games with my daughter, riding bikes in the neighborhood. All things the wife was there for. It just feels so empty with her not being a part of the family. The thought of kids not growing up with their mom and dad together just makes me sick to my stomach, and just rekindles my hatred for her. I know they are better off with two happy, separated parents rather than two miserable ones, but it didn't have to be this way. I am still occasionally falling into the trap of damn the signs were there. All it took was some small changes. It's tough at times, but I'm trying to hang in. She met with lawyer last week and suddenly she wants the kids, now that she gets CS and doesn't have to stress how she will make money and can enjoy kids more. I agreed to the CS that lawyer came up with based on the formula. I pissed her off more when I tried going down on it because she forgot to tell her lawyer some numbers. Now that set off something in her and she will likely pursue spousal support as well, which she originally said she didn't want. It's kind of what I've been saying. I can't really say or do anything to rock the boat. See, she has all the leverage. I basically just need to keep my mouth shut and get her to sign some favorable papers ASAP. My lawyer is drawing up the papers tomorrow. Hopefully she's in a good mood when we get to the signing table and I don't get hit too hard for spousal support. I also failed hard at the 180 the other night. When we had the talk about CS and SS, I just prodded her more for an explanation, closure. Stupid, I know. I had a moment of weakness. What was most surprising is that it just sounds like she has a ton of resentment towards me. It's honestly a shock. Things I never knew she had problems with came out. You got to better your career, pursue MBA etc. while I stayed home with the kids. In which I told her not only was that to better me, but I was bettering myself to put the family in a better situation. I could never tell you anything without it leading to an argument, so I just kept my mouth shut. That one hurts. All it does is make me get in my head and ask myself, am I really like that? It was always going to be your way or no way. Tired of asking for things. Seems like a lot of her resentment stems from financial issues and how I managed the money. But like I told her, if it was all about me I would have never touched her student loan debt and she'd be leaving this marriage with a $35K cloud over her head. Now she is walking away scot-free. I just need to stop. I know. You all keep telling me. I just keep asking myself, this is all ending because of her issues with the way I handled the money. She couldn't talk to me about it. It's just that I often compromised with her on things. I was never the my way or the highway guy. I just always felt like her happiness was a moving target. Shrugs. I just want this to be over. Went pay the lawyer to get the paperwork started. Now it's up to the WW and I to agree on things amicably and hopefully avoid litigation. Child support is a formula, so that is straightforward, but I don't think spousal support works that way. Hopefully we can agree on something and move forward. To top it off, I tested positive for COVID today and feel like absolute crap. And I have the kids, so they have to stay with me until quarantine is over, while trying to work remotely. When it rains it pours, I suppose. Find myself crying a lot the last few days. I am still just having trouble coping with how fast things changed. I just wonder how long she has been checked out. We had a decent few months leading up to D-Day. I just can't understand how it can go from that to just wanting a divorce so quickly. That's what hurts the most. Just wanting to feel wanted, and your best friend just totally doesn't see you in that light anymore. I know I should hate her, and I do to some degree, but still have that soft spot in my heart for her. It's almost like I just hate not being in control. It's like I want her to want me back so I can be the one to say no. Is that normal? Like, I know it would never be the same physically, but in a way I want her back for the family unit. Lots of thoughts running through my head. I just want to fast forward 5 months from now. It's just the kids involved. Reality is setting in that I will only see my kids for half the time as they grow up. That hurts me. I've been reading up on different stats related to kids from divorced households and it's sickening. Not being able to be a positive male influence for both my kids 100% of the time makes me ill and hate her even more. I just can't believe that it went straight to this and no talk about counseling or going over the issues. Problem is, an at-fault divorce in our case would be an adultery divorce. But in order to do that, both her and the guy would have to come testify, and she has stated she won't do that. I want to tell her those things so badly, but I'm just sticking to the 180. I would love to just rip into her and tell her all those things you said. Lied to me, betrayed my trust, abandoned her kids so she could screw off with some guy. I feel that I let her off too easily when we had the talk about the other guy a couple weeks ago. All she could muster was, I don't know what else to say, you're right. All those things she did, but now all of a sudden, she wants the kids half the time because she can get child support, so now she can enjoy the kids since she doesn't have to stress about how to support them. My comment: document, talk to your lawyer, try to find out what to do here. Document everything. Every time you talk, everything she does with the kids, document everything. You're going to get burned because you keep thinking this person is your friend. This is the mother of your children. That's it, let me tell you who she is. She's a cheater. Part 2 ending coming soon.